is here. Oh, we've got Slovakia, Tatiana in Slovakia. Fantastic. So, okay. It is dead on time, and I am really excited that so many of you have joined already, and you want to hear the secrets to managing tantrums, meltdowns, and misbehavior. So that is what I'm going to show you tonight. So I'm just going to switch my camera off now. Let me just remember how I do that. Videos, no, it's not there. Slides, it's there. No. Okay. My able assistant is downstairs, and he might be able to come up and tell me how I switch the camera off. But anyway, never mind. Let's go and get started. So the goal of our time together tonight is for you to get some powerful strategies to avoid poor behavior without resorting to shouting or threats or other things that we are inclined to do when we're faced with poor behavior. And I really get how challenging it is. It looks like my top left, hold on, where? Can't see it. Sorry about this. Ah, that's it. Great. Okay. Yeah, because I've got points on the slide where you don't need to see my face. So there we go. So the goal of our time together is having these powerful strategies for avoiding poor behavior without resorting to shouting or threats. Okay, now this time is for you, and I really, really want to encourage you to take time out. We'll be together about an hour. Sometimes I go on a bit more, you know, we may go over that time, but it's just so much time well spent. So I would just say switch off your distractions. Hopefully you've got your children in bed. If you have, well done. You know, just don't answer the phone. Don't flick up on Facebook. Don't have one eye on the remote control for the television. Just switch it off and enjoy the time together. And listen, this is for you if you're open to new ideas. So I will be checking in with you in the chat box. So I do turn my eye to it from time to time, and I will be checking in, because the more you engage, the more you will, you know, you'll take stuff away with you. So we've got also somebody who's just turned child has just turned into a three-nager. Yeah, I've heard that expression. I like that. The terrible twos you might have skipped, and then you got the terrible, the three-nagers. So if you are open to new ideas, stay around. You're going to like this. If you want to figure out how to avoid the battles and get them to listen, then stay here. You know, when that little picture, how irritating is that when they just don't want to hear us and they won't listen? I hear all the time people mentioning on comments on my Instagram. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, I do, because I put lots of tips and ideas and solutions pretty much, not every day, but about 3 days a week, 3-4 days a week, I manage to post. So, and if you want to spend more time actually enjoying your children, because this is the hard bit, you know, when we're not, it's just so unpleasant. I don't know about you, but I didn't intend to have children in order to nag them and shout at them, but we wind up in that kind of situation because we just don't know what else to do. And who's having these challenges? So tell me, are you feeling fed up with constantly nagging and repeating yourself to get your child just to do something? Does it feel like you need a megaphone in order to get them to react, or that you wind up, you know, reaching that certain pitch in order to get them to do something? My slides have gone slightly off, so that's why the do is over to the edge, but I've got an eye for detail. You probably didn't even notice that. And what about these challenges? So if you are, tell me in the chat box, tell us in the chat box, because we're in this together. You'll see my children are much older, but I'm with you because I know what this is like. So are you having these kind of challenges? Rudeness, aggression, unkind, defiant. Sometimes they've been kind of labeled the bad one. I'll tell you about Melissa later, and that was her situation. She had wound up labeling her own daughter as the bad one. But I often talk to people who say, in their child's nursery or child's school, they've been labeled that by other children, maybe less so by the teachers, but you never know. And therefore, you realize it's so uncomfortable that your child has this label. So, the rudeness, the aggression, unkindness, what we see as unkindness, hitting other children, shouting at other children, refusing to play and share things. Those are the kind of things, people feeling like they're having to repeat themselves. So you're not alone. Who's experiencing this? And tell me what it is that you're experiencing. Are you having, so is it the defiance, the rudeness, or is it things like unpredictable tantrums and meltdowns? You give them Cheerios because they've asked for Cheerios, and then they have a total and utter meltdown and throw the bowl down because they decided at the last minute that they didn't want Cheerios, they wanted cornflakes. So those kind of things, pushing other children. We've got especially in lockdown, I think, or post-lockdown, I think there's been a lot less socialization. That's what I'm hearing. And somebody else is saying they've skipped the terrible 2s and hit the 3-nagers. Yeah, it's tough. And I will mention that, and what about this? Do you feel like this? You feel powerless when your child misbehaves. If that's you, stick powerless. Listen, there's no shame in it because it can easily get to this. And then because of that, you resort to shouting and threats. So tell me if that's you, the powerlessness, the shouting or the threats. And it feels like nothing works. So if that's you, 3 going on 30, it feels like they're just really ruling the roost. It feels like you're just not in charge. When I first got help with my children, I was asked, I'll tell you about my kids shortly, but I was asked, does he know you're in charge? And my husband and I just laughed because that just was not the case. So, feeling like you're not in charge, feeling like they're ruling the roost, feeling like you just have to resort to shouting and threats in order to get them to do something. Okay, so we've got a lot of I go mad and shouting's like the new normal. Yeah, okay. So listen, being a compassionate parent is the most effective way of bringing out the best in your child and getting them to cooperate. That's what's behind everything I teach. Now, it is not easy. Believe me, I understand. But from all the work that I've done, so here I am. You can see me. I'll just pop my camera back on again so you can see what I look like, even though I stuck a picture up there. So I'm Camilla. Some of you know me, but if you don't, I'm absolutely passionate about parenting. It started because I was struggling so much with my 2-year-old, who is now 23, and I searched for help. And boy, did it make a difference. I then went on, I had a little baby, Felix at the time, and I then went on to have 2 more children. And it's, I've used these skills throughout, but they throw up different things at different stages. Some of you have already mentioned that, there's 2-year-old being incredibly assertive, wanting their way. There's 3-nagers, there's children. I'm sure some of you, tell me the ages of your children. Have you got older children? Because, it doesn't stop. It doesn't necessarily, isn't something that they grow out of. It's all about the handling. And I'm going to talk to you about that. And I've been in this game for 20 years. I absolutely love the work that I do. And I also understand that it's hard. So there they were on the left, my 2 boys, Felix and Nico. and my 2 girls many years ago. And this was them last summer, just at the end of the summer. So the 2 boys are now 23 and 20, and he's sort of 20 and a half, and the girls are 15 and 17. And I've really learned such a lot from them. And what I believe that's unique, I really do believe that parenting with compassion and having firm boundaries and tough love is a fantastic combination. So parenting with compassion is not about being a walkover. It's not about letting them have their say and letting them decide on every single thing. So if that resonates with you, just say yes. If this is like, yeah, I really like the sound of that, just give me a yes in the chat box there. Great. Okay. So I want to tell you about a fateful holiday that we had. So we had 4 children at that time, with the youngest being a very small baby. And we went away with some friends. And I'm going to put my camera on so you can see me talk about this. It was pretty fraught holiday. That our friends had 3 children, and they were similar ages to my first 3. And my son Felix, who's there, who looks so angelic, was a really, really challenging little boy. I had my skills as a parenting educator, and my goodness, I always say to people, I felt like he was sent to me to test every single one of them. And of course, I'm only human, and I'd had a new baby at the time, and we're away with friends. And it felt like every 5 minutes, that other children would shout, that particularly their 3, but even his brother would shout, "Felix hit me, Felix pushed me, Felix wouldn't share with me." And I noticed that the other family were telling him off, and he just became worse and worse. It felt like we just couldn't control him. And I felt really ashamed of him. I got cross with him. I didn't know, I just sort of didn't really know which way to turn. And there was one fateful day when we all decided to go to the beach together. And we had a pretty nice time on the beach. We managed to sort of avoid too many of the battles. And then it was time to leave. And he had decided that he wanted the seat that his brother was in. And it wasn't fair, because his brother they'd done a swap, and this was now his brother's turn to have that seat. And as I went to get him in the car, he just recoiled. You know that thing where the hands and the feet are out, they're pushing against the edge of the car seat. And he was doing the banana back, and he started to shout, "I want to sit there, I want to sit there, it's my turn." And my temper was rising. It was the end of a day. I felt really annoyed with him. It just didn't seem fair that he was doing this to us. We knew that we were keeping our friends waiting because we were driving in convoy to them. And I started to try and force him in. And I started to shout at him that I'm not having this, and we've had enough, and he's just got to do as he's told. And then I just thought, you know what, this is just not working at all. So I sat with him on the side of the dusty pavement, on the side of this car park in the heat, and knowing that I was keeping our friends waiting. They then drove slowly past us, and they could see him screaming and arms flailing, and I was trying to hold him, and I felt smirking at me. I felt like their kids were so perfect. They just didn't seem to react, certainly like Felix. And they kind of tapped their watch, like, how long is this going to be? And I just thought, I need to pull out all the stops to help this child, because he's really unhappy. And I just decided to hold him and tell him that I loved him, and tell him that it was okay and that he was going to be okay. He loved Pirate Peter, and I said, you know what? It's like we're in stormy waters. we're going through stormy waters and it's going to calm down soon. And he's still, jumping arch back at me. I want to sit there. It's not fair. And then just bit by bit, with pouring love and compassion, I managed to get him to calm down. And I got him back in the car, and he was, still pretty, what they're like. And I strapped him in the seat, and we drove off. And my husband said to me, "What do you think they think of us? Because you do feel that shame." And they'd already said, perhaps they kind of hinted that perhaps we were being a bit too soft on him at times. And I said, "You know what? He will always be our child. We need to do the best for him. And they may not always be our friends. So we need to do what we feel is right for him, and shouting at him and getting angry with him is like putting petrol on a fire." But what I want you to know about that little boy, who's now 20, he has had a diet of compassion. And I promise you, I'm not always good at it, and I've got cross, but I've learned these tools. So he's learned that he's okay, and that it's okay to have strong feelings, and that we can still make amends afterwards, but things come up. And he was just feeling so uncomfortable on that holiday. He told us afterwards that he just hated it, but he couldn't articulate that at the time. So now he's 20, and he rings me up and he says, he's at uni, and he says, "Mum, can I just talk to you? Because I'm feeling a bit anxious. I've got an essay to get in, and what do you think?" And so he asked for my opinion. And then he might tell me about friends, and he'd say, "Johnny's a bit down, so I'm going to take him out for a drink." Well, that was pre-COVID times, but or we're going to have a Zoom call tonight. And so he cares about others. And he was an aggressive child at times, and he's just so gentle now. So, this stuff is so powerful, and you can pull them through, is what I want to say. So how do you relate to that experience? Because this is about you. So tell me what kind of things, having heard that, do you relate to the being judged? Do you relate to those judgmental looks? Do you relate to feeling shame about your child? Do you relate to feeling that kind of anger boiling up inside you when you just, you feel like you're going to blow a gasket? So I've already got some of those comments. But it's about getting the balance. Absolutely, somebody's saying that. It's about and it isn't straightforward necessarily. So just remember, this is about powerful strategies to avoid poor behavior without having to resort to the shouts or the threats. So just stick around so that you hear more. So I'm going to talk you through. Some of you may have had this on a free download that I've sent, and I'm going to talk you through the model for avoiding challenging behavior. So this is one, if you like, segment in a whole load of tools to help that I can't go into tonight because there's just not enough time. So I wanted to take the great model for avoiding challenge behavior and break it down and show you how it is possible. So just what kind of things are you dealing with? So somebody said that my child is the naughty one and everybody else seems perfect, those kind of things. Yeah, I got somewhere before, just not being able to get the balance and sometimes giving in for an easy life. I get that. What other kind of difficult behaviors are you dealing with? We've got something about thinking that cuddles are going to get it out. Okay, well, I'm assuming that you are relating to this and you're dealing with the kind of things that I'm talking about. Okay, what I'd like you to imagine is some of the things that you are finding really, really difficult can be so much better than you think. So just imagine that these scenes where you're battling, maybe trips to the shop, maybe bedtime, Maybe it's morning and getting dressed. Maybe it's social gatherings when you have them. Maybe it's picking them up from school. And maybe you're getting feedback from teachers that, you know, they might, when they say to you, can I have a word? Has anybody had that? And their heart sinks because you kind of know that it's not going to be a good word. Maybe you could just imagine that those stresses around a younger sibling, they just start to be much more gentle with them. They start to be kinder to them. So what would that be like if those kind of situations where you've had a lot of stress just become so much better? So I'm going to talk to you about the G, which is in the GREAT system. So I'm going to go more into the R, and I'm going to skim over some of these things. And some people are saying, which is really common, that the difficult behavior at home and at nursery. So, yeah, at nursery they're really well behaved, but at home they give you the challenges. I've had a mixture of both. So my oldest child was being very tricky at nursery, and we had to work with that. And the second one was saved it for home, and the others tended more to save it for home. But that's not uncommon at all. So the G is about getting connected. So if we can imagine that you're dealing with a difficult situation. Let's say that you know that one of your difficult situations is dealing with meal times, that you tend to have arguments over meal times, refusing to eat, maybe pushing the plate away, throwing things down, refusing to come to the table. So the G is about getting connected before you issue an instruction, before you say anything to them. Just connect with them in some way with whatever it is that they're doing, and you'll find that it really does make a difference. So there's a whole load of ways that you can connect with your child, and I don't have time to go into them all, but just assume that by connecting with your child, you're going to encourage the better behavior. So Nicole is a busy mum of two. So she has Caspian and Cyrus, and she felt like she was just going round and round in circles. Her issue was particularly the morning. Caspian would run off. He didn't want to get dressed. He screamed for the iPad. She gave him breakfast, and he didn't want so if we think about the mealtime, he didn't want whatever it was that she put there, or he changed his mind. She just felt like he was really, really giving her the runaround. And she learned the impact of connection. She learned the impact of also the other issue, the things that I'm going to tell you about in the GREAT method. And she found that by using that, and I know it sounds like, you know, she just wanted to tell him what to do, but it wasn't working. So she found that by learning to understand him more and learning the impact of connecting with him before she'd issued an instruction to him made such a difference. And then she found, as a result, she could go take him out on a shopping trip, take him to the supermarket and have him not scream for some sweets or run off when she didn't know where he was going. She found going on trips with him just became so much easier. And she found that she was just much closer to him. And the result was he was much better behaved. So just think about that, you know, that connection coming with the compassion that I've been talking about. So the R is about respecting their feelings. Now, it sounds easily said, but I know that it's not easily done. And the language of respecting their feelings isn't necessarily one that we have at our fingertips. But when we learn that respecting their feelings is part of the key to managing this misbehavior, then we find it's much more easier. It's easier for us to grasp onto these things and to start to learn how to use the language to respect their feelings. And this is a really hard one. So we need to respect their feelings even when they're really pushing our buttons. And when they're really pushing our buttons, they'll be doing things like this child. You know, he'd asked for a hot chocolate, you gave him a hot chocolate, and then he screamed that he didn't like it. Or he wanted a cake, and you've said no to the cake. Who's had that? Like, you've said no to something, and then they start screaming. And then what really gets us is that we think it's really ugly behavior. So it's really like it's an ugly emotion, and they're demonstrating stuff that we just don't like. And that jealousy can be, you know, we need to respect that feeling of jealousy. And yet it's so hard, because so often with the jealousy comes hitting somebody else, hitting a brother, or you know, hitting out at you. So that's when it gets really challenging. But when we learn to respect their feelings and look behind the feeling, even when it's pushing our buttons. This will be recorded, by the way, in case you have to jump off. And it is being recorded, and I will send you out the replay. But if you can possibly stay with me, I'd really encourage you to do that. So, you know, it just seems like it's stuff that we need to stamp out. But actually, what we need to do is respect the fact that these behaviors are driven by strong feelings. And we need to respect their feelings and have compassion, even when we've no idea what's up. Why did she throw herself down on the pavement and lie there, possibly screaming? You can't see that. When we just don't understand it. You know, maybe we're off to the park and it's something nice. So but still we need to have compassion, even when we have no idea what's up. And even when we know that, you know, we don't know what's up, but we need to understand that this child doesn't mean to be this way. Am I making sense here? So I want to keep checking in with you. So somebody's saying, give you an example of precisely how to connect with your child. Well, very much depending on your child, but some way of connecting might be engaging in what they're doing. It might be chatting to them about something, an aspect of their character that you like, or an interest that they have. That's a way of connecting. There are more, but that's the kind of ways that you would connect with your child. And when you get that connection, children who feel good about themselves want to behave. So other ways of connecting, playing with them, talking to them, those kind of things. Now, what's often happening is that we're in a tearing hurry. And so we're barking an order at them. We're perhaps distracted. You know, I get it. You might have the baby to feed. You might have, you know, yourself to get ready for work. But when you can invest that little bit of time in connecting first, if we're thinking about, you know, before you're trying to get them to do something, that's when you're going to have much more of an ability to steer them towards doing what it is that you want. So, and then if they start to, like, you know, I've shown a bit here, if they start to demonstrate that those emotions where they're resisting things, they don't like it, we just need to be compassionate about it. So say it's getting dressed and they start, you know, running off and having just, you know, giving you the runaround. That's still a feeling. That is still a feeling that they don't feel like getting dressed. So we still need to respect that. And, you know, I know it takes a long time to grasp these things, and it takes certainly a long time to feel proficient in managing to stop your own emotion and understand that children would behave out of an emotion. And yes, we can get them and steer them, because that partly comes with the connection. So that is the R. And also want to say that resistance when they resist things, it is driven by an emotion. So, if you'd like to stick in the chat box some of the things that you find that your children resist. So some of the things that they do that you find really difficult to manage, stick that in the chat box, and then I can help to relate what I'm talking about. So, so somebody's saying, give me an example of how to show respect. Well, part of showing respect is not shouting at them. And if you are shouting at them and you're threatening them, if you think about this, if you were with another adult and you wanted that other adult to do something, would you shout at them and would you threaten them? You wouldn't, because you respect them. So we need to be this model, and we need to understand that when they have resistance, so it might be getting in the car, bedtime, it is driven by the fact that they don't feel like doing that, whatever it is that you have asked them to do at that time. Now, the great system is a one piece of so many other ways that I don't have time to go into tonight, that you can learn to lower that resistance and get the cooperation that you want. But I suspect you've tried this. I suspect that you have tried shouting at them or threatening them to get the cooperation, to get them to brush their teeth, to get them to get in the car, to get them to come to meal times, to get them to get undressed. Because I know, because this is, it's very easy to resort to that. But when we do, it's not showing respect to our children, and it will actually increase their resistance. So we've got to think about how to reflect that emotion for them. So, how to, first of all, understand what emotion is driving it, and then perhaps put it into words. So, you might say something like this, I get it. It's more fun to run around and it's less fun to come and get dressed or come to eat at the table. So it starts with that. But let's have a look at an E. So the E is about managing your and their expectations. So let's start with yours. I want you to take out the shoulds, because very often what's happening is that our temper is rising. We're resorting to using threats because we think they should be some way. We think that they should want to tidy their toys. We think that they should want to eat what we've given them, or be completely consistent about their likes and dislikes. We think that they should want to go to bed. What we'll often do is we'll compare to other parents, and we'll think, you'll hear another parent that says, oh, mine just can't wait to go to bed, or I have them in bed by 7 and that's it. And you might have the one that's running around still at 8:30. And what's happening is your blood is starting, it's beginning to boil, because you're comparing and you're thinking it shouldn't be this way. And then we will often forget the having any empathy with their emotions, or forget about that G for get connected, because we're just thinking it just shouldn't be this way. So when you take the shoulds out of your vocabulary, it really helps you to deal with it with more compassion. And the other thing is about managing expectations is giving them advance warning for things. So children are living in a world of their own. Children are living in their own time zone, within their own thoughts, and they are not thinking ahead. So they don't think, right, well, if I don't go to bed now, I'll be tired in the morning. Or if I don't eat this food, I'll be hungry later. Or I'll make mummy and daddy cross if I don't do that. So they're not thinking that way. They're just living in their own world. So if you have stuff that they have to do, and you need to, if you manage to manage their expectations beforehand. So I'm going to give you an example. When my kids were little, they went through a phase of being really difficult at going out to eat. And there were times when we wanted to have save ourselves on Saturday early evening and or Saturday lunchtime often, actually. And, you know, it was just, you'd get that whole grind of all the meals that you're cooking. And we wanted to go to a restaurant with them. And we noticed that we were getting more and more wound up at restaurants, and it was becoming a real nightmare. And we felt like we were the only parents who had unruly children. This is particularly when we just had the 2 boys. Until we just understood that we needed to manage their expectation. We needed to have them understand what goes on when we go to the restaurant. But that's not by just telling them. I'm going to show you in a minute another aspect of the great system. But that might be connecting with them beforehand and discussing it. That might be understanding that they have a resistance to it because it's less fun for them. They like the running around. But when we started to manage our expectations that actually a 2 and a 4-year-old shouldn't, you know, really expecting them to sit any more than about 20 minutes was unrealistic. So we took out the should, we managed our expectation, and we also managed theirs and explained what was required. So that's what I mean by managing expectations. But there's loads of different ways to apply this, because, you know, I'm picking out a few examples, but and you might have some extreme behavior, but what you need to take out, even with the extreme behavior, is that he shouldn't be behaving like this. He shouldn't hit his sister. It's driven by an emotion. He shouldn't be rude to his teacher. Well, there'll be other things going on there. So take out the should, and it helps you to be more effective in dealing with things. So Patty and Simon was a really good example of this. They were incredibly frustrated parents. They felt that their son Luca was really ruining their home life. He was refusing to do things. They had a lot of activities for him because they felt like he needed stimulation. So he had karate on one day and swimming on another, and Patty's Italian, they had Italian lessons on another day. And he was starting to really, really resist going, even though they knew that he quite liked it. He would kick up a fuss about everything. And they really found that life was just so stressful. It was just not the kind of life that they had wanted to have with 2 children. And through understanding, through the work that I did with them, through teaching them the principles about compassionate parenting, they stood in his shoes. And they understood that actually he was a little bit overscheduled. They discussed with him the idea of dropping 1 or 2 of the things that he was doing. They got him engaged more in advance about what was going to happen. They used the great system. So they managed his expectation of what day he was doing things and when. And they'd listen to his emotions. So they respected that he had strong emotions about some of these things. And also they just started to praise him so much more. And I'll talk to you about that in a sec. And, you know, the result was happy bike rides at the weekends. Meals were happy. The children were happier. He stopped beating up his younger brother because he felt so much better about himself. So this is powerful stuff. The A is about asking your child questions. Now, what we tend to do is we tend to tell them. We tend to tell them what they need to do. But if we ask them instead, it's usually get just so much better results. Is this making sense to you, by the way? Are you thinking, yeah, actually, I could probably do that? So if it is, I want to, you know, make sure that you're involved. By the way, I just want to say that the workbook that was sent to you was the wrong one. I did know it was the wrong one, and I just didn't have a chance to fix the tech to give you the right one. But I want you to write these things down. So write this down, ask a question. So we just, as I say, we tend to bark the order. We tend to just issue the command. But actually, if we ask our children what it is that we're expecting of them. So if we take going to a restaurant, for example, when we get there, what do we need you to do? even at meals, like when you come and sit at the table, what is it that has to happen? Because if you just keep saying, you've probably done this, you've got to sit at the table, you've got to brush your teeth, you need to go to bed. That's us telling them, and it's quite often they're tuning us out. So asking them questions gets them to realize what it is that they need to do. And it also gets more of their buy-in. So if they continually, so somebody said, what do you do if you give them a choice of two things and they ignore you? I would then, if they haven't engaged, it might be that you need to engage first. If you come back to the connect, it might be that before you ask the question about dinner, that you engage with what it is they're doing, because that can sometimes be the result. But if they don't answer you, sometimes it's because they actually don't want to say, because they know. So you might need to come back to it and just in perhaps a different tone of voice, perhaps more gently say, so what is it that we need to do after our bath with our teeth? You give them a hint, and then, get them to say, brush my teeth. So the A is about asking questions. So how would it feel to you to avoid some of this conflict? Let's just get real about this. What would be the result for you if you were able to avoid some of this conflict? What would be the consequences if you were able to avoid conflict and have more harmony at home? What would it be like for you? You can stick some things in the chat box. Someone's saying, yeah, they get overwhelmed by the choice. I can come to that at the end. Some of these things I'll be able to come to at the end. But yeah, just think about, if this is, it's about deciding. And what I want to get across to you is that it's about deciding whether you want to change, whether you want to use a different approach. Do you want to stop nagging and shouting? Do you want to get in a different sort of groove with your children? Because you need to make that decision. You can hear from me what's possible, and you can hear from me some of the things that you can do, but you've got to make the decision to change, and then you start getting the results. So I imagine now Emma is another case in point. For some reason, her picture came on one side. So Emma has a little girl called Izzy who has a disorder that required regular blood tests. And she found that Izzy had just been getting absolutely hysterical about going for these blood tests. You may have children that get hysterical about other things, really, really resist you about other things. She found that every visit was so stressful. But what she did is she used the stuff that I'm talking to you about. She really started to stand in Izzy's shoes and understand what those emotions were for her. And she started to prepare her and ask questions about how what could happen, what happens at the hospital, and and also telling Izzy how she felt. She couldn't believe the transformation at the next visit. The nurses in the blood department couldn't believe it either. They were used to hearing her screaming along the corridor, because this was every 2 or 3 weeks she had to go. So they were used to hearing that, Izzy's screams before she'd entered the room. The next time that she went, having used this stuff, it is so powerful. She trotted in. She walked up to the nurses. She said hello. She sat on the chair. She told them what she was going to do, which was to look away. They rolled up her sleeves. They took the blood. She asked for the sticker, which normally she just absolutely refused to have. And then she went out smiling. So, I am talking to you about things that for whether it's for health, whether it's for stress at home, these things are really, really amazingly powerful. So, and the T in the great system is about tiny steps, noticing and praising. What we tend to do is we notice what they're doing wrong, the things that annoy us, the things that press our buttons, the things that we just think are so nonsensical, and we criticize them because it's very easy. We are actually biologically designed, to notice. We have a negativity bias. It's part of our DNA to protect us from danger. But what we know now is that when you notice and praise in detail the tiny steps in the right direction, you start to see change. Now, there are many more details about praise that I don't have time to go into now, but it's about you get what you focus on. And so often, and I know that you'll be in this kind of situation, I want you to write that down. Notice and praise, because what so often, you've told me at the beginning, you resort to shouting, you resort to nagging or threatening. And the more we do that, the less we notice the things that they're doing right. So that is the T in the great system. And I was reading recently about the Duchess of Cambridge, and she said this, that some of the science behind child development now, the new science she was talking about, is extraordinary. It shows what a precious time this is and what an amazing opportunity we've got to really nurture their minds and put them in the best possible future for their lives. This isn't, think back to my story about Felix. This isn't just about managing your 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old, whatever age your child is. This is about giving them a future. What we know is that children's mental health is at stake. They're living in a world that's challenging, and we have a huge responsibility to them to nurture them in the best way possible. And believe me, I really want, I'm going to stick the camera back on for a moment. I really want you to know this, that criticizing, shouting, belittling, shaming, all the things that I know that you don't mean to, but we get into bad habits with, it's damaging our children. We need to learn how to deal with them differently. We need to learn how to bring out the best in them, because that's going to give them the best future possible. We're worried about their future. What kind of world are they entering into? So we need them to be strong and resilient. And these tantrums that you're seeing, these emotions that they're showing, these meltdowns, it's all about their emotion. And when we learn how to bring out that the emotional intelligence, nurture that emotional intelligence in them, that is a gift to them. So I really want you to take this seriously. Our children are the most precious things in our lives. And if you have got in bad habits with them, it's totally possible to stop and turn it around. You've just got to decide that make it a priority, make it important, learn the tools. This didn't come naturally to me. I thought I was going to be a really calm parent. And in fact, I just wasn't. And I was, triggered by so many things when my children were little. But I can honestly say that bit by bit, you acquire these tools and you can transform your life. And it can be really fast. So that is what the Duchess of Cambridge backs up, and take it seriously. So I want to ask you now, how confident do you feel about bringing out the best in your children? Stay with me because there's some more to come. How confident do you feel about it? It's a tough job. I've got some comments that I hadn't seen. So you'd feel less exhausted. You want more balance you'd feel happier and relaxed. You'd have more energy. Absolutely. You get your lovely boy back. When I was on that holiday with Felix, my lovely boy disappeared and I needed to be there for him and get him back. And I did. Not to say I didn't have other challenges, but I got him back, and he's, you know, look at him now, this emotionally intelligent, and they're all like that, actually. My kids have all got really high belief in themselves, resilience, and emotional intelligence. So how would you feel? You'd feel less exhausting for the whole family, less conflict can mean that you get things done. Absolutely. When you have less conflict, it's so time consuming to have conflict. It means, you know, those battles in the morning over getting them dressed. And when you know how to manage it differently, you find like they've got time to play. They've got time for an extra story. You've got more energy. You feel more able to have a little sing-song with them or do something fun on the way to nursery because you're not so drained by that constant battling. So let's just review what we've been talking about. And stay with me because I want to talk to you about something that you can, ways you can take this further, because I know that you want the best for your children. So the great review, the G was about getting connected. So in some way connecting with them, whether it's an interest or just being more loving. The R is respecting their feelings. They're driven by feelings. That's what's behind these challenging behaviors. You get stuck in a rut and forget to realize that your child's feelings are so strong and their emotions are so important. And when we get to grips with recognizing what those emotions are and what's causing that behavior, it's honestly, it's like the best thing. It's the best Christmas present you could give your child to learn this. Expectations, managing your expectations and taking away the shoulds, managing their expectations, what you want of them, but doing that in a way that they can listen. Asking instead of telling, and taking tiny steps in the right, giving them praise for the tiny steps, noticing and praising the tiny steps in the right direction. I call it catching the good. So that it's powerful stuff. And listen, I'd like you to imagine this. So you've already said that you want things to be calmer at home. You want that to be less exhausted. You want to have a happier time. So just imagine a scene, even in 3 days from now, when things are just that little bit calmer. You feel that bit more resourceful. Imagine in 3 months from now, how different things could be. You've brought out the best in them. It's like nurturing a little seedling. You've nurtured that seedling to flourish. And imagine in years from now, when you know that you've done the best job you could, not about being perfect, but the best job that you possibly could to be the best parent that you can. So just think about what that would be like. So tell me what's been the most valuable for you so far? What's resonated with you? Tell me, it's great that you've got so many, the battles are so draining, I get that. So it's great that you've made so many comments in the chat box. So just tell me some of the things that you found valuable. If connection is important, if you felt that that's important, write that in the chat box. If you feel like you really want to connect more with your child, if understanding them is that's been valuable, so stick that in the chat box. Anything that you have found helpful, stick children's feelings. Yeah, great. Respecting their feelings. Managing expectations, perhaps. So I'd like to think about, this is about, you can sit and listen, but this is also about what action you could take. So tell me what action that you might take. So maybe your action is to manage your children's expectations. What else do you think that you might do? Don't ask, don't tell. Great. Managing expectations, both ours and others. Fantastic. Great. So it looks like you've got hearing. It's not only been yes. Yeah, that is so key. So when I first started learning parenting and I went to sessions, I found it such a relief to be with others and understand that I wasn't alone. being part of a community of like-minded parents who are on the same page. They want the best. They don't want to be perfect, or they understand it's not about being perfect, but it's about feeling reassured that you're not alone. So these are probably the 3 challenges that you may still feel are there. How do I stop shouting? How do I stop feeling guilty when I shout? And I'm really not quite sure. Like, I've still got these challenges that I'm facing, and I'm not quite sure. We've spent 45 minutes together. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about changing, because there's a lot to it. So what I'm going to tell you about now, I just want to say it's not for everybody. It's something that I've been working on, bringing my 20 years of experience into a program that I've been working on for a long time. But it may not be for everyone, but I'd like you to just listen and listen to what I've got to say. So I've developed a program called the Tantrum Taming Toolkit. Now, I liked the alliteration, so I called it the Tantrum Taming Toolkit. But it's about way more than just dealing with tantrums. It's about dealing with misbehavior, meltdowns, rudeness, hitting, jealousy, all those kind of things. And it's all rolled in to a really amazing program. And I'm going to show you what's in it. And I'd really like you to consider the impact that it would have, the gift that it would give you to learn more. Because part of it is about, like somebody's already mentioned, that feeling of not being alone. We often parent in a void, and we compare ourselves usually unfavorably to other parents who we think have got it so much better. Usually they haven't, but it's a lonely business when you're dealing with a difficult child or a challenging child. And I guess that's why you're here, because you know that because your child is presenting challenges. So the Tantrum Taming Toolkit goes really deep into the stuff that I've talked about tonight that I couldn't go into deeper in the time that we have. And it shows you in step by step how to be a compassionate parent, using the most effective tools to bring out the best in your child and get them to happily cooperate. I'm not saying that they're going to always cooperate with everything, but it's about those tools. I mean, I can't tell you how useful it is to have a toolkit where you've got this situation where you're kind of a bit flummoxed and you go, okay, I'm going to pull out this one and I'm going to pull out this one. And also about yourself, about knowing how to manage yourself. That's another tool. Knowing how to manage your own moods, your own sensitivities, because we have a huge influence on them. They are sponges for us. And the more we can manage ourselves, the better we're going to be, but particularly when we're equipped. So I'm just going to talk you through, and I'll look at your questions in a sec. I'm going to talk you through what the modules are of the Tantrum Taming Toolkit. So module 1 is about our mindset. It's called It Starts With Us. And there are so many ways that we can help ourselves to therefore be able to access that calmness and that able to press pause and able to be choose the right response even in a challenging situation. It's about how our behavior impacts our parenting and how to help ourselves. We're also looking at what's normal. I think so many of us parents worry that our child is abnormal. But actually, I've analyzed normal behavior, and it's all in there to really reassure you that your child is more than, without doubt, displaying a range of completely within the normal range. Even kids on the spectrum, it's still normal behavior. But it's about how to bring out the best according to their temperament. Because I've gone through and analyzed different types of characteristics and behavioral traits according to temperaments, and therefore to show you how you can parent according to that temperament. So you might have one with a reactive or a sensitive temperament, or a very, very determined. So it's about how to adjust your style and by understanding what those temperamental traits are. The second one is partly about the neuroscience, but also about responding in the moment. Like, that's what parents will so often tell me. They'll say, you know, it's fine, but it's when I'm confronted with his aggression or this meltdown seemingly over nothing. What do I say? How do I handle it? So I've given you all the range of tools to be able to handle it. And I'm going to show you also coming on to show you how you can also practice that. Helping them afterwards. So how do you do the aftermath of this behavior? How do you deal with that so that they take responsibility? So they learn to make amends. So they say sorry with meaning, because there's a tool for that. And it's so powerful. My son once kicked the baby. My older son kicked the baby, and I used these tools. I did react initially, but then I pulled myself back, and I showed the empathy, and I reflected how he felt, and I was gentle with him. And about an hour later, he came back up to me and he said, "I'm really sorry I kicked baby Felix." Now, that's what we want. We want them, you know, putting them on the naughty steps, not going to do that. We want them to be able to accept responsibility when they've done something wrong and learn from it. But there's a way to do it, and there's a tool there. And there's also a section on how to avoid misbehavior, because again, we want to be able to nip it in the bud, but it isn't by squashing their spirit and stamping down, because as we know, that just doesn't work. And we want our children to flourish. Module 3, again, bringing out the best. It's going into detail on how to praise them, all the different ways to praise them, to bring particularly slanted towards when they're inclined to be difficult, and understanding their emotions, which again is there's layer upon layer with it, to develop that emotional intelligence, that sensitivity to others, the ability to be kind when they perhaps haven't been in the past. And module 4 is about harmony at home. So strategies for rules and routines that you can stick to, that they like. And then also we go over the GREAT method to give you some extra detail on that. It's a really comprehensive program. I'm so thrilled with it. I can't wait for people to join. It's new. It brings together, I've been teaching for 20 years, so it brings together so many of the different elements that I've learned from my research, from teaching, from working with other parents, and from myself. And it's just so powerful. Christmas is coming up. I honestly couldn't recommend a better Christmas present. Whether you want to ask for it, I'll tell you about the investment involved, but whether it's something you want to ask for you know, give to each other, or even ask a grandparent to help you with this. So it comes in, you get access to a members area. Some of you may have done other courses, online learning, where you have the same thing. You get your own login, you go through to a members area where each of the modules and all the bonuses I'm going to talk to you about are found. And you have lifelong access. So there's no rush to get through it. You will review it. You'll come back to it. Things change and you'll want to come back again. And you go back whenever you log out, you go back to the same place. I really like that. I always think, where was I? It's a bit like putting a bookmark. So you go back to where you left off and you can review it as much as you like. I've also included, I'm so excited about this program, I've included 3 really great bonuses, because I know how to make sure that a program is really giving you everything you need. So the first bonus is 3 group coaching calls with me. So we're going to jump on a call together. You're going to ask me questions. I may bring people on to you'll ask questions in the chat box, and I'll also bring people on to ask questions to me direct, so others can hear. And I give you coaching to take you over the detail of the program, to remind you of things, to get your questions answered, to help you to personalize it as a group. And as a group, you're going to be supporting each other. And that's where you'll feel that you're not alone. So that's the first bonus. The second bonus is a Facebook community. So it's the Tantrum Taming Toolkit Facebook community, where you'll again get that extra support from others and from me. You might want to, it's a weekend and you want to post a question or share a result. Share the fact that, you managed to go to the park, go and have a hot chocolate somewhere, and you didn't have any kind of a meltdown. So it's a great community that it'll be open for a certain length of time, and getting support from each other and from me. And you almost find like they're friends, even though people are all over the country or all over the world. It's people are saying, I need this toolkit in my life. You absolutely do. The third bonus, because I know how stressful it can be, is the perfect way to reduce stress, with expert meditation teacher who's a personal friend of mine, Lauren Bear, and she's done a little a specific meditation for parents with a lovely handout that goes with it to explain what's going on in the brain when you meditate. Really, really helpful. I'm a big believer in it. I used one of Lauren's meditations this morning, and it really helped calm me down. So Melissa is a mother of two. She was at her wit's end. She had constant battles with her 6-year-old, stress and shouting all the time. You can see there's a page I'm going to send you to. You can hear her, Melissa, on a video talking about the situation that she was in. She followed the methods, these tools. She used these tools, and it truly transformed her house. She thought that her daughter was the problem. And actually, she realized that it had to start with her. She decided to change her approach. She embraced the tools, and she decided that she was going to change and do something different. And she didn't know how to do it before, but she learned how. And she said, forget expensive toys. This is the best Christmas present to give your family. To have those times without conflict is just, it makes parenting what it's about, which is a joy, which we experience sometimes, but so often the joy's gone out of it. So here's other past participants. I've worked with Emma Freud and Richard Curtis. Their parents are 4, and they said it was extraordinary how much of a difference that I made to their lives. Peter and Sabrina went from being a shouty household to one where they actually enjoyed times together. And Sarah Mello, that just her little testimonial there just came in tonight, actually. She got so much reassurance that she wasn't doing things wrong. I gently, she said, directed her efforts to become better, and also about trying to see things from her child's perspective and adjust her communication. So I want to tell you, I'll just take my camera off so that you can see this. So I want to tell you about what this is involved in, the investment that's involved. This toolkit, with my 20 years of experience, would normally be just the toolkit on its own. Would be a value of £700. I'm not only added the toolkit, but I've got these bonuses that I've just mentioned. Those group coaching sessions where you'll get support and feel that you're not alone. That would be a value of a minimum of £200 to work with me in a group over 3 sessions like that. The Facebook group, Facebook members group, that's private to exclusive to members of the the Tantrum Taming Toolkit, would normally be a value of at least £150 to get that support. And this exclusive stress management bonus from Lauren Bear on meditation, that would be normally a value of £50. So the total value of the program is £1,100. But I've I'm so keen. This is the first time I'm launching it. It won't stay this price. I've had feedback from other people that it's just too cheap for the value that you get from it. But I'm launching it now at a special price of £247. And there's an extra, by investing in the program, by purchasing it tonight, there's one extra bonus, but you need to purchase it tonight. So I'll tell you what that, so you have two choices. There is the Tantrum Taming Toolkit on its own, which has 4 implementation modules, 3 group coaching sessions, the Facebook group, which will be on for between 8 and 12 weeks, depending on what's going on for you guys, and a course manual and other printable resources that I'll drop in the program. So that whole thing is £247. Now, some people want more from me. If you've got a really challenging situation, you may feel like you definitely would join in the group situation, the group calls, but you really want to have some more advice just from me and some more support with bringing in my expertise. So I've produced a premium package. It's not for everybody, but if you're that parent that feels that you would love that extra support, you get the entire toolkit plus 3 one-to-one video consultations spread over probably a period of 6-8 weeks. And you get unlimited email support between the sessions when you can ping me a personal email with what's going on, celebrating the good and also asking extra questions. So it's a really supportive package. And the premium package is an investment of £699. I'm going to show you where you need to go. Anybody, now listen, I'm crazy to do this. But anybody that signs up tonight for the program would get a free half-hour exclusive video session with me. Half-hour. Now that is going to really help you. If you're in the thinking about doing the premium program, I'll add in the extra half an hour. But the premium program is really if you want that extra help and support and just really get to grips with your situation and your, what's going on for you. But anybody that signs up for either of those programs tonight will get a free half hour, but that has to be by tonight. You get a 14-day money-back guarantee. I'm really confident about this program, but I like to make sure that if you're worried about what you're investing, that you can go through the program, put some of the things into practice. And if you really don't feel it's got the right elements for you, if you really don't feel it's giving you what you want, then you just need to get in touch. No hard feelings. And I'll refund your money. So I would love you to take action tonight. I would love you. I'm just going to show you. Whoops. Sorry. That in the chat box there to the right, if you click on that, it takes you straight through to a page that goes over what I've been talking about. And it goes into detail what I've been talking about that's in the program, either the standard program or the premium package. It's also got a video of Melissa, who you just saw, explaining what she got from working with me, and it's just so full and so comprehensive. Some of you might be thinking, look, I just don't have the patience. I promise you, within that program, you get all the tools to be able to give you patience. Patience is something that's learned from feeling successful at things, from feeling like you know what to do, from feeling like you've got the right tools and using them and having success with them. So if you are one of those people that feels like you haven't got patience, I promise you within that program, you will learn so much more about being patient. You might think, oh gosh, I need some time to think about it. That's fine. Tonight gives you the extra half hour with me. But just so you know that the doors close a week tomorrow. Thursday, the 10th of December is the last time for entering into the Tantrum Taming Toolkit. And I won't be releasing it again until probably February. So, because I want to make sure that I take this current group through it. So know that by Thursday next week is the last time that you could enter it. And in fact, next Thursday evening is the first call that we would have, the first group call that we would have together. So you might have some questions. So stick some more questions in the chat box. And I'm just going to say, just bring you back to, yeah, that tells you again the total value of the program. So all those things, the full toolkit itself with those 4 modules, the bonus of the group coaching calls, the private Facebook members group, and the stress management, all would be a value of £110, sorry, 1,100, and the special price tonight is 247. That price remains for the next 10 days, but 8 days, but not if you wanted to have that extra half-hour call with me, then you need to go ahead and sign up tonight. So, well, when are the calls scheduled for? Somebody's asked. Okay, the first one is next Thursday. They will be recorded. Sorry, I hadn't seen your questions there, so I'm coming to them now. So those calls will be recorded. So if you happen to miss them, you can still catch up because there'll be questions from other parents that. So I've set the first one for Thursday the 9th, I believe it is. And I'm not absolutely sure when the next one will be. I think it will be before Christmas. I think it is, I haven't got my diary in front of me. I think it's possibly the following Thursday and then we break for Christmas. But actually I can be a little flexible if people feel that there's too much going on before Christmas. What age range does the toolkit? That's a really great question, Bethany. So the toolkit is aimed at from about 18 months, 20 months, really to any age. I mean, the examples that I give span an age range. It's not specifically about toddler tantrums, although you'll see when it goes into what's involved in a tantrum and what's triggering it. You'll understand why toddlers tend to have more, but it goes up. You know, my kids could have easily had a tantrum when they were 8, 10, you know, tantrum, meltdown, rude, all those things. So it spans an age range is the answer to that. So question, when are the group calls scheduled for so that was starting next Thursday. Somebody said they'll get in touch with me. Thank you very much. Any other questions that you've got? Somebody's got to go. Any other questions on the to come through on the chat box? Yes, somebody's saying before Christmas is good. Love to have a calmer Christmas break. Absolutely. I mean, if you think about the gift, the amount that we spend on children at Christmas versus £247 to give you a really calm Christmas holiday, it's so worth it. I would really encourage anybody to invest in it. Like I said, you can get, if you go through to that link, you can sign up to the premium program, which includes a lot more support if you've got a particularly challenging situation, or you're just one of those people that really likes to work one-to-one, or you can just get the standard tantrum taming toolkit package. So you sign up by going through to that link that I put up. So it is, let me just put that up again there. Okay, you sign up by going through there. If you just click through to learn more, or you can go through to that URL. It's My Parenting, this slide went weird. myparentingsolutions.com. Join TTT. I'll put that actually in the chat box here. So it's My Parenting. Oops, remove. Got to do another one. myparentingsolutions.com. Join TTT. So let's write it there. Join TTT. So that is the link to take you through to sign up. So I really have enjoyed having you on. I will still, I can still stay here to ask questions if you have any, but I just wanted to say it's your commitment to your children that you've stayed here with me. It's a lot to cover. It is a journey. It is about learning those tools. You know, if you wanted to bake a cake, a really beautiful cake, you would learn from somebody who'd done it before. You wouldn't just, you know, wing it. And so much of parenting is about winging it because we haven't necessarily had the opportunity to learn from somebody that knows their stuff. And I like I say, I'm not perfect, but I really do know how to bring out the best in your children using compassion and but still holding the boundaries, still knowing that there are times when you need to have tough love. So it's not about being a soft touch. It's really about knowing how to do it. And like I said, we need to take care of our children's future. It's so important that we get them to be emotionally articulate. So many children are suffering with mental illness, and it starts from when they're young. So your children, I'm assuming, are pretty young. And if you can address it now and make sure that they are being nurtured in the right way, that they are having their feelings recognized, that they are able and encouraged to express their feelings no matter how difficult those feelings are, that they are taught how to do the right thing, that they're taught the best way of behaving. And, you know, that makes them more popular amongst, you know, within classroom situations with teachers. If they know, if they feel good about themselves and they know how best to behave, that's an amazing gift for them. And you know, to have them be resilient. Children will have knockbacks. They will have disappointments. And if we've learned how to teach them to come to bounce back, again, what a gift for life. So I would just encourage you, I would love you to join me on this program. It's so great. You know, we're going to have a really great time together. We'll do these group coaching calls, and you'll learn from me, and you'll learn from each other. You'll jump in that Facebook group and share things, and you've got lifelong access to the program so that you can keep refreshing it, keep coming back to it. It's you know, like a muscle. You need to keep toning that muscle. And there's so much to learn, and I really have put so much within the program. So I would just really encourage you, go to that page, check it out. So there's the link, check it out, and you will understand. Perhaps I've talked a lot tonight. You'll get to understand what's in the program. But just remember, if you sign up tonight, you get that extra half hour with me, but that's only available for people who've been on the live masterclass. So there is the link. I don't know if I swap back to the chat box. It's also at the top of the chat box. So there's the link. I'll sit here for a little minute more, but ask me any further questions that you have, and I'd be delighted to answer. Otherwise, you will be sent an email with this information. Jot it down anyway, that join TTT if you wanted to have a look at it tonight. And just a big thank you for everybody that's been here with me. So unless you've got any other questions, I'm just going to switch off my camera. Okay, so somebody's asking, how easy is it to advise you when I can't see you interacting? I'm assuming you mean on the group calls. Is that what you mean, Deborah? It's actually surprisingly easy because I get questions in the chat box, and I also bring people on the audio to ask questions. So and that's actually surprisingly easy. But you know, there are situations where in a group situation you'll definitely get things answered, but there are also other situations where you would need a bit more on the one-to-one. So it depends on your situation, but certainly the group calls for encouraging each other, learning from each other, and listening to certain questions being asked. But I can only take so many questions in an hour, so you'll probably find there's commonality, but I can't take everybody's individual questions in an hour, because which is about how long we'll spend with each other. So, you know, for some people with a particularly challenging situation, they do need more support. And you know, I don't just say that because I want you to do the premium program, but for some people, that support is really what they need to get them through to the other side. Not about being perfect, but really getting them through, getting those tools deeply embedded. But if anybody has any extra questions, you can always email me. I'd be more than happy to email or jump on a quick call, because it's you know, it's one of those things that you might just have the extra questions. So I think most people have gone now. And what I'm going to do is end the call, but just say thank you so much for joining me. Do go click through to that link, put it up on your screen. You can have a good look about what's involved in the program. And it's been a pleasure to have you on here tonight.